Hi, my name is Gloria from Gloria's Production, and I'm communicating a problem to you. I'm going to communicate this problem in a much different way than you've been listening to. And that problem is racism in America. I pulled this video from YouTube called Having Conversations with White People About Race. And I thought this video was very, very interesting to present to you.
To talk about race. It's not something I do.
Don't put your hands on me. Get out of my face, lady. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Don't. Lady, what is?
I am feeling apprehensive because I think there's a lot of reasons why I feel like I should be able to talk about race.
Volunteer. She's in here acting a fool. She's already called me a and she pushing your stuff out the door. Well, lady, what are you doing?
You're getting out.
You're getting out. You're going all over the internet. We ain't did nothing.
I don't want to say anything. You know.
The eye of it, fuck you. Try it. You fucking damn nigger, fucking pieces of shit, fuck all of.
Because we didn't do anything to her. She just lashed out at us.
You're racist as what the f you?
That would offend anyone. It's a very...
It's called self-defense, you stupid Who the you calling it?
My daughter was asleep and she woke up crying to some lady screaming at us.
The video on Robertson's
touchy
Facebook.
subject. It's still difficult, even if you feel like you're on the right side of it, to have a dialogue about it.
Here, a middle school teacher's racist rant after a fender bender in the school parking lot. Here's Stephanie Ramos.
Go back to your welfare.
Tonight, a Pennsylvania middle school teacher has been suspended after her rape.
For white people, because we don't want to see if the racism that we may be holding on to.
You're right, nigga.
I don't know. Maybe I am racist. I certainly don't like to think that I am. And I think that's too because the perception, in this society, perception of a racist is a guy in a robe.
They're niggers.
They're what? They're niggers. Say your mouth again. Say it again. Say it again. Oh, Beezy, say it again.
Nigger.
Show ass up.
Fucking nigger bitches.
Knock her out, cuz, on Beezy.
Knock me
Now
out.
I understand that it's a system of advantages and disadvantages based on race. So as much as there's the disadvantage piece of it, there's the advantage.
I called you a nigger. You're a nigger. Nasty fucking nigger.
Okay. For Complex News, I'm Jinx. Unfortunately, we live in a world where racism is still running rampant in 2014. Just recently, there was the recorded audio of Donald Sterling
Up race, and I want to bring it up in a frame that helps my children think that there's no difference. But the mere fact that I might be bringing it up could suggest that there is a difference.
Out of all the comments made about race in this video, only one that fit the causes of racism today. And that is this young lady.
For white people, because we don't want to see if the racism that we may be holding on to.
She said, and I quote, "I pray for white people because we don't want to see the racism that we are holding on to." That made more sense to me because to me, what she said is the causes of racism today. The strong urge and the need to feel supreme over others give people false pride. And Dr. Jane Elliott, who is a professor of university that speak on race, she's a white woman, by the way, She said, without that, what else do they have? You see, the negative behaviors that come from racism can change by letting go of the pain that you are hiding. Remember, hurt people hurt people. The relationship blacks and whites have towards each other is one of cognitive dissonance. What caused this type of relationship towards each other? Well, first, we have to know what cognitive dissonance is. The term cognitive dissonance means inconsistencies of thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. And we know what the inconsistencies have been throughout the history of America, especially when it comes to working towards equality. The way to change this type of relationship is to change the behavior. In order to do that, we need to use the onion effect. I guess by now you're asking yourself, what the hell is the onion effect? Well, I'm about to tell you. Onion effect is pulling back the layers to the causes. If you're home, I want to try a little experiment now. If you're home and you're listening to this video, I want you, if you have access to it, pick up an onion, hold it in your hand, okay? The first thing that you'll feel is tears because it's a discomfort, a pain. You get a burning sensation. But here's the trick to the onion effect. When you start to peel back the layers, the pain lessens. The next thing you need to do is start peeling off the layers. Once you start peeling the layers, the closer you get to the core, the less burning sensation you will feel. It's the trick of it. You won't know what lies underneath until you peel down to the core. And what lies in the core of that onion could be rotten or it could be salvageable. You won't know that until you get to the core. And that's the same with the relationship between black and white and racism in America. Together, we're going to peel back the layers of America's story in order to get to the core of racism. So stay tuned. There is a requirement before you watch the video though. This video is a conversation tool, but first we have to open ourselves up to letting go. Let go of the guilt and own it. Because what you see is one-sided. Having the conversation will show you the other side. Once we let go, the possibilities for the 2020 elections will give us perfect vision of unity. Let me be clear about what I am and what I cannot be. I am an American in pain from suffering like most of America, who is part of this system. One thing I cannot be is a racist. As a black person, I am only in the system and not part of the system because of unequal rights. I urge you to watch the video, but be mindful enough to rationalize it. History of slavery is real. It happened in the past and continues with a tweak of tolerance in present times to hide from the facts of the story that attributes to slavery. Throughout history, there has been a pattern of evilness and the behaviors of European culture. The European had a feudalism system holding their own in bondage before the slave trade. The difference between the social classes in ancient Africa then in Europe was at the bottom of Europe's social class, you were considered a peasant, a nothing. But in ancient Africa, you were considered an unskilled laborer, to be taught a skill for more opportunities in order to provide for the village. The era of throwing people away because they were underprivileged in Europe was during the time of the Dark Ages, which brings us to the next segment of our story involving slavery. Dark Ages were during the decline of the Roman Empire. During this era, the intellect of its people was considered barbaric. Politics and religion was not in full effect. There was no organized stability during this age. It was a period of violence and backwardness. The deteriorating of economy and culture contribute to the decline of the Roman Empire. Today, the history of the Dark Ages is repeating itself in politics. Remember, back then, politics and religion had no boundaries for stability. America is in conflict because boundaries were set by laws written and produced by the founding fathers whose ancestors came from Britain and owned slaves. These are the very same people that committed evil acts to maintain their privilege through the laws of declaration. That is still affecting the political system in America today. Today, the privileged are upstanding each other with an intellect of confusion and incompetence. They are in a fight to save what little democracy they feel we have left. But the question remains, in my mind, that deserves a precise answer. How can a democracy exist for all of its citizens when it did not include people of color and women? That is confusing as hell. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter, which is called, What is a Democracy? How and when was a democracy developed for law and order? According to the encyclopedia, the ancient Greeks started democracy. Their ideology of its implementation did not include slaves, women, or children as citizens. Even though they were born in America, slaves and women could not vote. Today, Americans are allowed to vote. This is part of a democratic system, which has been a struggle for blacks and women. Today, the voting rights in America are being compromised for all from abuse of powers and the present day leaders. Black people's voting rights. When did black people get voting rights in America? The barbaric behavior from Dark Ages showed up in a bloody civil war against each other. It was about slavery. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution was created in 1868, granting black people rights to citizenship. White people did not honor the law, and the 15th Amendment had to be drawn in 1870 to stop the barbaric behavior of lynching and killing human beings, to stop them from getting their civil rights. But yet, in different states, white people found ways around that law. In 1915, the barbaric behavior continues to break the law with the assistance of the Supreme Court to stop black people from voting. A new law was devised to help make it possible for black people to vote, with a grandfather clause which says a descendant of slaves' grandfather had to have voted for someone of color to vote in that present time. Now, how backwards was that? That a slave could not vote. So, there were more barriers for black people to fight in the case of voting. In 1930s, laws were passed where blacks had to pay a poll tax, of which they could not afford. In 1964, people marched for equal and voting rights, The violence committed by those with barbaric behaviors escalated. They bombed churches, killing 4 little girls. They continued killing black people and whites that marched with them. In 1965, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act into law, removing the discriminating barriers. And today, we still fight to get the equal rights of voting. And in conclusion, we have to break the pattern of evil doings that goes against America. Just like there is power in money, there is also power in truth. It is time to have the conversation about the power of truth. Under the power of supremacy, people had to be in pain, to lose self-control and cause harm to others in cold blood. It is human nature to blame other people for our pain. If you are a Facebook scroller like I am sure you have ran across those videos of violently out of control white people who is shouting out the word to black people, calling them niggers. Now, they are calling it racist rant, or racist this, or racism. As far as I see it, that's not racism. That is someone who is in pain, who has hit rock bottom, and who is at the lowest point of their life. The superiority complex helps them for the moment because it is giving them pride, no matter how false it is. Racism is not when someone is calling you nigger, or if someone is disrespecting you, or that one person is saying things that is left out of left field. That's not a racist, and that's not racism. Racism is a system that developed 400 years ago to control others through abuse of powers. And my purpose for making this video is I hope to keep the conversation going. I would like to have a televised conversation with Ayala Van Zant being the facilitator because I look up to her. She's a great healer. And I think she would help us. I think she would help us to stand in our own truth, no matter how painful it is. If we do this, I promise you, we will get through it and unite as human beings rather than Democrats or Republicans. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you gain something from it. Please subscribe and make your comment. I promise you, I will answer you. The next video, I want you to stay tuned because we're going to be talking about black people and the pathologies that we face as black people and what we need to do in order to heal ourselves. Like I said, America is suffering. Bye-bye. Have a great evening. Until the next time.